Hello, everybody, and thank you all for coming out to the Goddess Queen Tulsa show. I'm your host, Queen Tulsa, and we have a great show for you tonight. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the things. We will be right back. Hello, and welcome. Thank you all for coming by. I really appreciate you. Oh, absolutely. Please like, share, and subscribe. The Goddess Tulsa show. Welcome. Please like, share, and subscribe. Now is the time to go ahead and get ready for the show. We have some great news for you. Okay? We're going to have a great time. So I really, really, really appreciate you and your dedication to showing up. Gratitude. Don't be afraid to hit that cash app. And don't forget to smash that like button. All right, ladies and gentlemen. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for coming out to the Goddess Queen Tulsa show. We are here tonight because we have to discuss big news. Well, first of all, if you're a new subscriber, definitely thank you for subscribing. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much. And thank you for your dedication and your loyalty. Well, let's go ahead and get into the news. We are talking about Pieper Lewis. If you guys don't know who she is the teen that had unalived her handler. The Iowa teen who killed her alleged rapist and was sentenced to probation has escaped from custody. Pieper Lewis, the Iowa teenager who killed a man, she said raped her and was sentenced to probation and ordered to pay restitution to his family, has escaped from a residential corrections facility, according to Iowa's 5th Judicial District Department of Corrections. Lewis walked away from the Fresh Start Women's Center on Friday at 6:19 a.m. after cutting off her electronic monitoring tracking device. Jerry Evans, the district executive director, told the press in an email Sunday morning at this time her whereabouts are unknown. Officials have filed a probation violation report, Evans said, recommending her probation be revoked. A warrant for her arrest was subsequently issued. That remains outstanding. Lewis was 15 years old when she unalived a man she said had arred her multiple times. She received a deferred judgment from Polk County District Judge David Porter after pleading guilty to voluntary manslaughter and willful injury. And in September, an Iowa judge ordered Lewis to pay $150,000 to his family in restitution as required by Iowa law. Porter also ruled Lewis would receive 5 years probation, serve 200 hours of community service, and pay an additional $4,000 in civil penalties. The deferred judgment meant it could be expunged from Lewis's record. Now, guys, get into these laws, and get into how things are set up. So not only did she have to fight for her rights, but now she has to pay the family a whopping amount of money. Okay. So I know it's heartbreaking, but we are going to push through. Okay. The Des Moines facility from which Lewis escaped is a residential corrections facility, according to the Fifth Judicial Circuit Department of Corrections website. It accepts residents with varied legal status who might be admitted as a condition of probation or parole. It says the program aims to provide a safe and holistic approach to supervision that seeks to educate, support, and advocate for all women to transform their lives, the website says. Lewis pleaded guilty in June 2021 to the unalivement of Zachary Brooks, saying in the plea agreement, okay, let me go ahead and pull his picture up just so we know who we're talking about, right? Guys, give me 1 second. Saying in the plea agreement, the 37-year-old Ard her multiple times in 2020. She was initially charged with first-degree murder. In the agreement, Lewis says she ran away from the home several times and ended up sleeping in the hallway of an apartment complex. One man took her in, but she felt when he became abusive. She wrote in the plea agreement, she said she then moved in with another man who created an online dating profile for her and arranged for men to have SE with her for money. She lived with that man who told her she was his girlfriend from April 2020 until she was arrested for killing Brooks, Lewis said. She was introduced to Brooks in May 2020, and he gave her alcohol, marijuana, and had sex with her 5 times while she was unconscious over a 3-day period, she said. Lewis learned of what he had done according to the plea each time she regained consciousness, and he was still on top of her. On May 31st, the man with whom Lewis lived with confronted her with a knife after she refused his order to go to Brooks's apartment to have sex with Brooks in exchange for marijuana. She wrote, eventually she agreed to go after he cut her neck, she said in a plea. At Brooks' apartment, she was forced to drink vodka shots and fell asleep, she wrote. At one point, she woke up and Brooks was eyeing her. She said, Brooks fell asleep and Lewis went to find her clothes. When she came back to the bedroom, she saw him pass out undressed, she wrote. I suddenly realized that Mr. Brooks had eyed me yet again and was overcome with rage. Without thinking, I immediately grabbed the knife from his nightstand and began stabbing him. Lewis stated in the plea agreement. I further acknowledge that the multiple stab wounds that I inflicted upon Mr. Brooks thereafter ultimately resulted in his death. Advocate expressed concern. In ordering community service, George Porter said it would give Lewis the opportunity to tell her story to other young and vulnerable women in our community. Lewis's attorney said that he was pleased with the court deferring her sentence, praising her courage, but advocates for victims of sexual violence disagreed. I don't think that justice was served, Kelly Marie Meek of the Iowa Coalition Against Sexual Assault said at the time, expressing concern about Lewis's ability to manage the terms of her probation due to the severity of her trauma. Because I know that many of the ways that trauma survivors deal with their trauma is not understood very well by folks that haven't experienced trauma, which can sometimes lead to behaviors that gets folks in trouble, she said. Lewis is one of several teenagers, often of color, who have been legally penalized or convicted of killing their sex trafficker or assaulter in recent years in the U.S. It's just a story that has unfortunately become all too familiar. Centoya Brown told PBS News Hour. Brown, now 32, was sentenced to life in prison for killing a man who paid to rape her when she was 16. When she was a 16-year-old trafficking victim. She was granted clemency in 2019 after spending half her life behind bars. She was a victim of in this situation. Brown, now a criminal justice reform advocate, said of Lewis, not only is she going to have to serve time in a facility, but over the next 5 years, anything that she does can trigger her having to serve a 20-year sentence. So she's not truly free. Wow. The story is heavy, guys. This is definitely a story that we will continue to follow. Um, and it's a lot going on. Well, we do have new reports says, get into this. An Iowa sex trafficking victim who killed her rapist and was sentenced to probation recently has escaped custody and is now wanted by police. Pieper Lewis, 18, was sentenced to 5 years probation in September after she admitted to killing her rapist. Zachary Brooks, 37, and back in 2020, the judge ordered a deferred judgment and allowed Lewis to serve for probation at the First Starts Women's Center in Des Moines, Iowa. According to the probation violation documents obtained by the Des Moines Register, early on Friday, November 4th, someone opened a door at Fresh Start, setting off an alarm and alerting an officer on duty. The officer saw Lewis exiting the building, and her GPS monitor was cut off at some point the same day. As of Sunday, November 6th, Lewis has yet to be located or detained. The report indicates that she already had many offenses with probation center prior to her escape. The probation report also asked for her deferred judgment to be revoked and her original sentence imposed. Lewis could face up to 20 years in prison when captured. So, guys, let me know how you feel about this case. I say free this woman and let her go. I don't even know why she was even charged in the first place. I felt like she was put in an uncomfortable position. I mean, this is a woman that endured trauma. Let's be honest. This is a woman that endured trauma, and I just don't agree with the sentence. So, please, guys, let me know in the comments. Sound off. This was a great live. This was a short live, but we will definitely be back at 8 o'clock to discuss more of the conversations that need to be discussed. Okay. And it's just really a lot going on right now, but we are going to push through with the content. We have Royce Reed and Dwayne Wade and Zaya Wade, the whole family, definitely in the news. So please make sure you come back and check out the show. This has been a tragic situation. Prayers to everyone involved. On that note, this concludes our show. I'm your host, Queen Tulsa. This is the Goddess Queen Tulsa Show, and we are out.